Yes, that is the theme this week. We're graduating to greatness. You know, we're off to 5 weeks into the year now. We're off to a good start. 3-2 is respectable, playoff bound. But with the high level of competition this week, it's going to take nothing short of greatness to find success. So this is the week where the Buddy Bear Big Timers are graduating to greatness.
Yeah, you know, we had a little bit of a hiatus. There was some mild controversy, which is a little bit silly over it.
Yeah, but we're back!
You know, people possibly thinking we're a little butthurt over our losses in week 4.
We're going to talk about it a little bit because it was truly a case of just a million and one things going on. The little brother moving to Louisville, all kinds of homework, midterms, everything else.
Yeah, so, a little under the weather. It was,
yeah, some sickness going around. So yeah, we weren't dodging any responsibilities, and plus there was that TV show that we posted a link to that was taking our place.
Right. Now, first of all, we do have to tip our hats to Owen and to Drew. The teams that are currently in first place in the standings. 4-1 records.
You gotta, in order to be the best, you gotta beat the best. And I will say, granted, it doesn't mean much. You know, Drew knows that I'm never gonna let him get a win completely without commentary. But there's 5 weeks this year. I'm 3-2 against you. You just ran into me a week that was one of the 2.
So on the 40% chance, he got lucky on it. You know, I ran into Owen. My team beat more than half the teams in the league this week. But I ran into
Owen's been a buzzsaw the last couple
weeks. The best scoring team. I mean, pretty much every single spot he just crushed. But you know, little brother stuck it to Craig.
Yeah.
You know, Kelly beat Rome, but you know, pretty much everybody beats Rome.
Well, no, but that was like you said, a lifeline from Heartline.
Yeah, lifeline from Heartline.
I mean, Rome was looking to pull 2 upsets in a row.
Out of nowhere, he got tons. The offsetting and saving him from 32 from the Niners defense, which pretty much justified keeping them right there.
Yeah.
With that pick. I mean,
but 42 from Heartline. It was 42, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, he dodges the ball. He only wins by 3 points over Rome, just because of that 42-point game from Heartline.
And you know, and Greg had his bye week against the only team that was under 100 points a week. Jason had a pitiful.
Yeah, that was one of the highest-scoring weeks I've ever seen, and everybody but Gelhar was over 100.
And he wasn't even 83.
Yeah. No.
He was 82. And then you know, Nick beat Team Mediocre, and you know, it's kind of been the same old story for Mediocre. It's
about 100 points roughly.
About 100 points. It's rarely the worst scorer of the league, but it just...
And the thing is, like, you know, Nathan's a good guy and everything, but because his team's so mediocre, it's kind of boring to talk about it sometimes.
Yeah. Maybe...
he needs to get an injection of excitement.
He should review our show on his video game site.
Yeah. I mean, you know, he's got good video game reviews, but his fantasy football player evaluations have been lacking so far.
Yeah, but you know, I think overall he's getting the hang of it again. He's at least not...
No, he's not embarrassing. He's just mediocre.
Yep. Now, getting into the transactions here, there was people wanted running backs.
Yeah, this is like I think that there's a crisis of scarcity when it comes to the running back position, and people are getting desperate. I mean, if you just look at the transaction log over the last 2 weeks, it's massive inflation.
Now let's go on the list.
Yeah.
Alex Green at 79.
Ridiculous.
Now, of course, who makes that ridiculous move?
Yeah, just when I thought, you know, because there was a trade earlier in the week, actually, we got to mention, where Craig and Iverson and Jason Gelhar, they had the big trade landing Larry Fitzgerald for Craig, and then Mark Ingram, who at this point is essentially a throw-in, for Kendall Wright and Stephen Ridley. You know, on paper, that's a good move for both teams. Craig, I don't know about Craig, because really, I mean, he gets Fitzgerald, who's an upgrade of his 3, and his 3 has been hurt. However,
Ingram's not really a startable player.
Yeah, and he's stuck with just Doug Martin now, who's on a bad offense, and Stephen Ridley was really his best bet at his weakest position.
Yeah.
And you know, the biggest problem he has is that his
running back too.
And now he gets rid of one of his 2 viable players there.
So a move like that, and you're thinking maybe Jason has finally sobered up. He's been drunk for
yeah, because it's hard to give up Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
And, you know, Ridley might have some keeper value as a third, fourth rounder next year. Probably not, but he might.
You're thinking enough cold showers and enough coffee, and he's finally... And then what? $79 in Alex Green.
$79.
Monopoly money.
And what's worse is, granted, this was before we knew Richard Mendenhall would get hurt again. If there's one position other than RG3 that he really didn't need anything, it was his running back.
Yeah.
He already has Richard Mendenhall and Stephen Ridley.
Yeah.
So you're going to blow your entire free agent budget on the one position that you don't need anything?
Now, that Mendenhall thing might end up being that it was a little bit, still didn't need to pay $79 for him.
Yeah, and it's going to be a timeshare, people. I mean, we are right in the eye of the storm here in Green Bay, and by everything the coaches are saying, it's a timeshare. They're going to go with the hot hand, and James Starks has a lot of talent. Granted, he needs to learn how to pick up a blitz, and he needs to be a little more patient, but if you look at the game film, Alex Green, his 41-yard run aside, was worse. It said he was terrible in his reads.
Yeah.
And that's just from being young and inexperienced, probably. But to spend $79 on Alex Green, like, you know, granted, he's a lottery ticket, but you don't spend $79 on lottery tickets.
And then we had Stevens Howling and Brandon Bolden.
And who was it? It was Madrid with the Howling, right?
Yeah.
$41? Okay, here's my thing. Beanie Wells and Ryan Williams are out for the year, I give you that. Were either of them any good? So what makes you think that the third-string running back, who is too small to be an every-down back, is going to be suddenly some magical 100-yard-a-game kind of performer, which that price would indicate? I mean, it's like if Beanie Wells was terrible and Ryan Williams was terrible, what makes you think LaRod Stevens Howling is going to be any good?
And if Bolden achieves his potential, what does he do? He forces all the running backs into a worthless committee.
Yeah, Bolden had some nice moments, but all of those carries in his 100-yard game were in the fourth quarter.
And then Vic Ballard is neither Jake Ballard nor Michael Vick. He's just a guy that has a cool name. Again,
and if Donald Brown's a starter, that means Donald Brown's probably the better player.
And Donald Brown stinks.
Yeah, and so what makes you think Donald Brown's backup is going to be worth $23?
Now you want to say something that I'm going to protest.
I already said about Starks that $11 is a steal for Starks. Granted, he's probably not going to be anything great, but he's going to be $11 valuable, that's for sure.
And you were saying again, you said the Packers are going to ride the hot hand.
Yeah.
What makes you think that doesn't mean just maybe run some rollouts with Rodgers and actually get yards from a guy that knows how to run the ball? Because I think that Rodgers is a better runner than either of these guys.
But they're not going to expose their quarterback. They never have planned run calls with Rodgers.
I'm sorry, but they're better off running slants to Cobb and running some rollouts with Rodgers that gives them options.
But that is a move there, like, just the fact, 79, 41, 23, 41 for Brandon Bolden. That's just mind-bogglingly bad value. So, remember, in the big trade that we had, which we're going to discuss in a moment, Mikel Lashore, I spent $15 for him.
And there wasn't much interest in Lashore.
Yeah, I mean, Nick had like a $7 bid on him or something like that. I bid $15. Now, me and Nick were both being proactive. We heard the chatter of the coaches, and it's one of those things where you want to be 1 week before the mad rush, because he probably would have gone for nearly $100 had, given his keeper value and everything, had we waited a week until he ran for over 100 yards, you know?
Yeah.
But it's still, I mean, if $15 for Mikel Lashore just 2 weeks ago, and suddenly Alex Green's commanding 79,
yeah,
and Howling 41, Bolden 41. So not only did I get a steal, in my view, with what I was able to parlay Lashore into, because I get 2 starting running backs and a starting receiver out of them, but it was less money than all these backs other than Starks. So it's just, people are getting a little loopy. I mean, I know that you only have 8 more weeks to use your waiver bucks, but still, I mean, you know, there's going to be some players that come down the pipeline. You don't need to waste all that money on marginal running backs.
And it's kind of strange. Now, with standings, we already mentioned, Dream Crushers and own goal, sitting on top divisions. They're currently the bye teams at 4-1. Yep. But then we've got a big cluster.
6 teams at 3-2.
6 teams at 3-2. The top 2, the bottom 2 of those, the ones that would be currently out of the playoffs, are Nick's team and my team, with you, little brother Matt Kelly, and Greg Susat being the other 4 playoff teams. Then you have to look at Craig's team.
Unlucky. I mean,
been unlucky at 2 and 3.
But he's been he's had some good scores, some bad scores. Like the one that he lost to who was it in week 4?
He lost to Matt, who was the second highest scoring team.
But Craig that week was the second worst scoring team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's on you, man. That's not bad luck. I mean, you ran into a 167-point buzzsaw, or 165, I think it was.
165.
But, you know, it doesn't matter if everybody but Frams outscored you.
Yeah, so really you got Drew and Owen.
Yeah, Owen is clearly
the dominators of the divisions.
Yeah, and remember I'm 3-2 against Dream Crusher.
But
I'm 3-2 against
him. But you're 0-1 against them in games that count.
Yeah, but I still think that I'm in the Dream Crusher.
So you got these two I put as the dominators. Then you've got the contenders, the 6 teams that are 3-2.
I'm a co-dominator with Dream Crusher.
Definitely not.
My team's better.
Then you've got division unlucky, and then under this is division I told you so. Rome, you're 1-4. Your team's no good. I told you so. Smithson, team mediocre. Team's not good. Told you so. Jason, your team is over. Your team is no good. We call you bye week.
I told you so. But week 5, he almost pulled it off. He almost pulled it off, and he would have if he wouldn't have inexplicably started Greg Little over Robert Meacham.
And, you know, we're talking about that a little bit. It's like one of those things where you knew the game was going to be a shootout.
Yeah.
Neither team can play defense.
And I mean, Little had a little bit of a decent game the week before, and Meacham's been kind of bad. But Meacham's going against the Saints, which is everybody's cure when you're a passing team.
And the game's going to be a shootout.
Yeah,
neither team can play defense.
Yeah, and so that's going to be the first thing we talk about with week 5, and we'll talk about a couple other things. But with Robert Meacham, I mean, if you draft him in the 4th round, give him one more week. I was really, really wanting to see the bye week pull out a win just because it would have been huge news. And he almost did, and all it took was another boneheaded move with the lineup making.
Well, the lead story for the Week 5 recap has to be one that resulted in you and I getting...
it was a Week 4 trade.
It was a Week 4 trade, but it ended up being our lead story of the Week 5 recap.
Just because of your angry brother.
There was angry...
I got several angry texts, too, saying angry and Facebook messages and everything.
And you gotta say, you know what? Calm down. This is fantasy football. Sometimes trades happen that don't involve your team that end up affecting your team because of the weeks that those players get used. This is a case where Jeff traded me for a player I shouldn't have cut and ended up getting a 48-point swing out of the trade.
Yep.
For 1 week.
Because what I was going to do before Craig put a bid in them, I was going to go with Isaac Redman because I had no running backs, and I was going to have to use D'Angelo Williams. Those two guys combined for 2 points.
Because D'Angelo had -2 and got death threats on his Twitter.
Yep, that was hilarious. A little bit sad, but it's kind of funny nonetheless.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, with the 4 points that Redmond got that week. But instead, I get Ahmad Bradshaw and Willis McGahee, 2 top 20 running backs. And
not before that game, but now they are.
Yep, and they were projected that way though too. They were rank-wise, they were like 16 and 19.
Yeah.
So I was really thrilled to get 2 bona fide starters to replace McFadden and Murray for the week, which was a big lifesaver. And then Malcolm Floyd to replace the 3rd receivers because
Golden Tate.
Yeah, Golden Tate would have been the 3 receiver there, and he ended up with a respectable 12, but Floyd went for 17. So I was able to get a net gain of 48 points, and I know our game wasn't that close.
Yeah.
It was like a 20, 30-point win, something like that. By the way, hey, top scoring team of the week. I told you we're dominant. We're dominant.
But
no weaknesses.
At the end of the day, a fair trade's a fair trade. This is a deal where I didn't lose any of my guys that would be actually starters.
And you got what looked like, if his groin can heal, a better starter caliber player for starting. Just in talent. I mean,
I wouldn't start either of those guys over Sproles.
Yeah, but as your brother Matt would say, he's only played for 1 game.
But then I also have Fred Jackson coming back after a bye, or after, buys and injuries and all that.
He's got good keeper value. The thing with LaShore is, will he be healthy, and will he be the same caliber player he was before the big injury?
And I figure with your luck, if I didn't, he ends up being like the best running back in NFL history. So if I didn't pull off this deal, probably LaShore ends up like running for 1,500 yards.
Yeah, when I made that move, I completely forgot to look at the fact that, I might not have bid on him had I realized that his bye week was the same as my 2 starters.
Yeah.
But this is what I love is 5 of 9 players are on bye this week, starters. 5 starters of my 9 starters, and I go on to be the high scoring team of the week.
Well, and
no more buys the rest of the way other than Rodgers in week 11.
And there's a similar situation played out here with my win over Kelly. Kelly was the favorite team going into the week. In fact, I had received a message during the week that Jeff and Eric are going to have losing records after the week. Matt and Kelly are going to win. Didn't happen. Half my team tied behind my back just to try to make it fair to Kelly, and he still couldn't pull off the victory.
That was a dramatic. We were watching that Saints-Chargers game, and that was dramatic.
No, the Rivers loses the fumble right at the end.
Yeah,
right at the end.
And that was actually, he brought it into, was he tied or within one?
He was one down.
He was 1 point down, and all he needed was to get to the 5-yard line and he wins, or sends it to overtime if they score. And instead he fumbles the ball, and you breathe a huge sigh of relief.
3-point victory, but I'll take it.
Yeah, that was really down to the wire.
Then we had, Owen, pretty much everything he started that he had to because of injuries and buys went golden for him.
Yeah, we would say that starting James Jones getting 20 points and 2 touchdowns would be the savvy move of the week, except that he didn't have any other options.
To start nobody?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he could have. He started James Jones over waiver wire options.
Yeah, so, I mean, good lucky week.
And then 30-something, the Tony Gonzalez train keeps going on. Tony Gonzalez, what is this, like 2001 again? I mean, he's suddenly looking like he's a teenager. I mean, I don't think he should retire. He's saying this is his last year. The way he's playing, he should play for another year or two.
Yeah. Now, and then we mentioned Craig snuck one by Jason.
Yeah, that was
you can't let a game be that close when you're playing your bye week.
Yeah, and Griffin got the concussion with only 4 points, and you almost wish that Griffin would have got hurt in practice because Andrew Luck had 34.
Yeah.
So
who was that against, by the way?
Who was that? The Packers. Yeah, they kind of blew that game. But you know what? I'm chalking it up to a team that's fired up to win one for the Gipper for their coach.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough buzzsaw to run into, but it's not going to get any easier.
They're going 13-3.
Yeah, not after they lose
13
Sunday night as well.
13-3.
And then you had Drew with Alfred Morris, who we kind of laughed at. $100.
Yeah, I gotta say, 100 is still a little steep, but I gotta humble myself here. You have attained some vindication because he's been the primary ball carrier for 3 or 4 weeks. I listened faithfully to my XM radio, and all the sports pundits were saying that as flashy as Robert Griffin III is, that Alfred Morris is the motor that drives that team right now. They're very a lot of people are impressed with Morris. I thought he was pedestrian. I thought he was mediocre. Turns out that was a really good move. Not $100 good is still debatable, but at least you're not getting laughed at anymore.
And then Reggie Miller and dropped 42 on the Packers.
Yeah, and see, this is what's driving me nuts. Normally, I like to just thrash Drew whenever I get a chance as far as some sports debating or whatever. He's coming out rolling snake eyes and everything. Like, not only did he hit on the Alfred Morris after the criticism, not only did he hit on the Cardinals defense after the criticism that I gave him, then he goes and beats me, which is bad enough, but then the week after I tell him in what universe is Reggie Wayne a #1 receiver when he mentioned that he's on bye, and he's one of the top 2 or 3 receivers in fantasy, and he's looking like he's 25 years old again. So ride this as long as you can, Dream Crusher, because you're peaking early. You are peaking early.
Now, this week does bring over a rest in peace. Rest in peace, Danny Amendola. We were enjoying mentioning how Matthew was really, really regretting not taking him, but now that he's hurt, now it might not matter. That was Greg's downside of the game. It already hurts losing to your brother when you do, but losing Amendola, who was a very promising fantasy player this week, Yeah,
he's going to be back by 5 or 6 weeks, but still, that brings right to near the end of the fantasy season, and it's kind of hard to say. You can't just plug a guy in at that point.
And then maybe an early preview of the Toilet Bowl.
Well, they're probably going to be favored to lose the Toilet Bowl because the 7 seed, 8 seed are going to be favored. But
right.
But Team Mediocre gets his congratulations. You got your first win. Granted, it's against a fellow 1-win team, but you got the first win, and that's a good start. So Galhar's the only winless team left, and he rode on the strength of Alex Smith.
Had a 5-week start over Tony Romo.
Yeah, Tony Romo was on bye, and he got 33 from Alex Smith. Was it 33?
Yeah.
Something like that. So that was an impressive performance by Alex Smith. Otherwise, you would have lost again to the Full-Time Panthers.
And I think that win right there means it's not possible that he'll finish below Galhar this year.
Yeah. I think Galhar is going to be hard-pressed to get a win. I mean, this is his golden opportunity. He was over 100 points. He was really rolling.
I mean, that's not going to happen much for Galhar, over 100 points.
And now you got concussion issues, although he does got good depth at quarterback. He's got good depth at quarterback, decent starters. Kendall Wright's a good prospect, and so are Randall Cobb. He's got some building blocks for the future, but not for 2012. It's kind of going to be a rough go. And if he gets one win, he should be proud of that.
And whoever loses to him, I sure hope it's not me.
I can tell you one thing. Gelhar has Team Mediocre on his schedule, on his calendar. He's circling that day.
Oh, you got Rome on his schedule too?
Yeah. So the Fram Spindom is going to circle on their calendar Team Mediocre and Polkai Panthers. Those are going to be his best opportunities to sneak out a win.
Nope, that pretty much catches us up.
Next segment, we're going to have our very first guest owner. He's actually sitting in the living room watching TV, so we might as well have him on the show. It's the owner of the Picket Fence Cartel, the much maligned by us
over the years. We gave him, we looked at him as a mediocre team instead of a crappy team that we usually look at him as. In the years past, I've said, Nick, barely knows how to read, let alone draft a fantasy football team. But this year could be the year where the preseason moderation instead of dissing might be accurate. I think Nick's team has a real chance to be a playoff team this year.
Remember, he's a team that went to the final. We went to the championship game last year, but it was on smoke and mirrors. It was smoke and mirrors.
It was, but who did he knock out to get into that game?
Yeah, that was my team just didn't show up that week. They didn't show up.
Tim Tebow.
Yeah, and to Nick's credit, he actually only had the Tim Tebow crush for 1 week before he cut him right away. So he didn't ride the Tebow train for too long.
He does own 2 Tim Tebow jerseys, though.
Did he get the second one in the mail?
He has the home and the
away.
The
home and away. Oh, okay. He doesn't have the Jets one yet.
No, he doesn't have the Jets one.
But we still love him even though we malign his team. And I think he usually doesn't agree with our takes as far as that's concerned. But he'll have a chance to defend himself in the hot seat. Do we have anything that's going to be really hot seat questions or no?
Yeah, I'll ask some ones. We might not be able to put that online.
Yeah, well, we'll put Nick in the hot seat coming back, and then we'll real quickly preview the Week 6 action as well. But until then, make sure you shave your pits. Wait, we don't shave our pits. No,
how would you?
Only women do that. So I'm not going to shave my pits really. So that was just completely random.